Welcome back to Coins Tool. Today we are diving into the fascinating world of United States dimes and focusing on a coin that many people overlook but which carries history and potential value far beyond its 10-cent face value. We are talking about the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime. This small silver-colored coin minted in Philadelphia holds a story of design heritage, American history, and surprising collectible worth that might just make you check your pocket change a little more carefully. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who had passed away the previous year. Roosevelt was admired for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and also for his role in founding the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. The dime was chosen as a fitting tribute to him because of his close connection with the charity that used the dime as its symbol. Ever since then, the Roosevelt dime has remained in circulation with only minor changes, and has become one of the longest-running coin series in American history. By the year 1987, the United States Mint had fully transitioned the dime into a copper nickel-clad coin instead of the 90% silver composition that earlier dimes had. Before 1965, the 1987 dime minted at the Philadelphia Mint carries the P Mint mark just above the date on the obverse side. The coin features the familiar portrait of Franklin Roosevelt designed by John R. Sinek with the motto "Liberty," the phrase "In God We Trust," and the year 1987 clearly displayed. The reverse side of the coin shows the torch, an olive branch and an oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace and strength, along with the denomination 1 dime and the country name United States of America. In terms of mintage, the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime had a very high production with more than 1 billion examples struck. This makes it a common coin for circulation. However, the real story lies not in the average worn coins but in the coins that were preserved in pristine condition, or the coins that feature unique minting errors. While most circulated examples are worth only 10 cents, collectors are willing to pay much more for dimes in top condition. For instance, uncirculated 1987 P. Roosevelt dimes graded by professional services can bring in several dollars, and higher mint state grades, especially MS-67 or MS-68 examples with full torch details known as full bands or full torch designations, can command even higher premiums since they are very difficult to find. In flawless strike quality, error coins from 1987 are another exciting area to explore. Some dimes from this year show off center strikes, broad strikes, double dies and clipped planchets, which can make them highly desirable for error collectors. Certain dramatic errors can bring in hundreds of dollars at auction, and when you combine rarity with strong collector demand, the price can shoot up even more. Now, when it comes to the top-tier market value for the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime, there are recorded sales of superb gem-quality coins with perfect strike and luster that have sold for thousands of dollars. And in the world of coin collecting, rarity and condition are everything. There are collectors who are willing to pay incredible amounts for the right coin in the right grade. One ultra-rare high-quality example of the 1987 P. Roosevelt dime has even been valued as high as $300,000, making this small coin worth a fortune in the right circumstances. Today, the current market value depends heavily on grade, condition and rarity. A circulated 1987 P dime is worth its face value of 10 cents, but an uncirculated piece in mint state condition might sell for anywhere from $2 to $50 depending on the grade. If it carries the full torch designation, that value can climb much higher. Rare errors can be worth $100 or more, and the finest known examples in professional holders have reached into the thousands. The rarest gem specimens known to collectors and auction houses are currently estimated at a market value of around $1.5 million, making it one of the most surprising and valuable Roosevelt dimes in existence. So the next time you come across a 1987 dime, take a moment to look closely at it, check the condition, examine the strike quality, and if you spot anything unusual or if the coin looks perfect, it may be worth sending it in for professional grading. What seems like an ordinary dime could actually be a hidden treasure sitting right in your pocket or coin jar. We dive deep into one of America's everyday coins that sometimes hide surprising value, the 1996 Roosevelt Dime. We'll trace its origin, design, variations, and the factors that can make it worth far more than 10 cents. Stick with me, because you might just find hidden treasure in your pocket. Let's begin with some background. The Roosevelt Dime series has been in continuous production since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Its design is by John R. Sinek, and the coin features Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse, with the reverse showing a torch flanked by an olive branch on one side and oak on the other, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. Over the decades the design has remained remarkably stable. Wikipedia By 1996, Roosevelt dimes were standard circulating coins made in a clad composition, essentially a copper core with a copper-nickel outer layer, 75% copper, 25% nickel over a copper core. There is no silver content in these dimes. Wikipedia +2 PCGS +2 Now, 1996 is a particularly interesting year because it features not just the usual Philadelphia, P, and Denver, D, strikes, but also a special West Point, W, mint release. The W dime was part of a commemorative insertion in mint sets marking the 50th anniversary of the Roosevelt dime design. The West Point strike was never intended for general circulation. AppMex +4 Wikipedia +4 main website +4 The W version is more of a collector's issue. Only around 1,457,000 of the 1996 W Roosevelt dimes were struck. PCGS +2 Wikipedia +2 Let's talk about the 1996 D mint version, i.e. Denver. This is the standard business strike version most people would have gotten in change. In typical circulated condition, it holds only face value or a bit more to collectors. But things change when condition is pristine, or if the coin has strong strikes on certain details. Collectors often look for what's known as full bands, FB, that is, sharp, fully defined lines on the reverse where the olive and oak branches cross the bands that tie together the fasces, if applicable. For the 1996 D, full bands specimens are relatively scarce, because many of the dies used were weakly struck, causing the band details to be soft in many coins. PCGS According to PCGS CoinFacts, the 1996 D Roosevelt dime is common up to about MS67 in condition in non-FB form. But the full bands versions are scarce in all grades. PCGSAs for market valuations, in mildly uncirculated to circulated condition, the 1996 D dime might fetch $1 or $2, or even just remain at face value. But in high grades, especially with full bands, it can command much more. USA Coin Book +3 NGC Coin +3 PCGS +3 Gray Sheet lists value ranges for 1996 dimes. For example, a 1996 DMS, uncirculated, with full bands can range up to about $1,500 in the highest grade. Gray Sheet USA Coin Book estimates a 1996 D in uncirculated condition, MS+, might be worth $2.47 or more. USA Coin Book Now, let's return to the 1996 W variant. Because it was made specifically as a collector piece and not intended for circulation, most examples are preserved in mint condition. In typical grades like MS65 or MS66, the 1996 W dimes are worth in the low tens of dollars. AppMex lists, for instance, MS66 at about $21, MS67 at about $26, etc. APMX equally, auctions have sold 1996 W Roosevelt dimes in better grades for higher prices. The West Point issue tends to attract interest from collectors of modern U.S. coins and of Roosevelt Dime series. PCGS +1 But as always in coin collecting, condition, grading, and rarity are everything. A dull or worn coin is worth much less than a pristine, sharply struck one. There's another important factor, error coins or misstrikes. Occasionally, coins get produced with minting mistakes, off-center strikes, double dies, missing clad layers, die clashes, etc. These errors, when dramatic and certified by major grading services, can elevate value dramatically. On eBay and in auction catalogs there are listings for 1996 Roosevelt dimes with errors. We are diving deep into the fascinating world of the Roosevelt dime and focusing on the 1998 D1 dime coin from the Denver Mint. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but some rare examples of it are worth a fortune, with a current market value soaring as high as $700,000. The Roosevelt dime series first began in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away in 1945. Roosevelt was beloved for many reasons, but one of his lasting legacies was his work to fight polio and his support for the March of Dimes charity, so it was only fitting that the dime would carry his portrait beginning in 1946. The design we see on the dime today was created by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at that time. On the obverse or front side of the coin you see the profile portrait of President Roosevelt facing left, along with the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." Below his chin the date appears as well, with a mint mark when applicable. On the reverse of the coin you will find a torch in the center symbolizing liberty, with an olive branch to the left representing peace and an oak branch to the right representing strength and independence. Surrounding those symbols is the inscription United States of America e pluribus unum and the denomination 1 dime. Now moving forward to the year 1998, the United States Mint produced dimes at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The 1998 D dime was struck at the Denver Mint, and millions upon millions were made for everyday circulation. Under normal circumstances most of these coins are worth only their face value of 10 cents or perhaps slightly more if they are in pristine uncirculated condition. However, what makes the 1998 D dime fascinating is that rare era varieties and special mint state conditions have turned some of these small coins into treasures worth a staggering amount of money. Collectors always look for unique features when it comes to the Roosevelt dime, and the 1998 D has some known rarities. Certain examples were struck with errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, weak strikes, and full torch bands, which are highly prized. The full torch designation refers to coins that show complete details on the bands of the torch on the reverse. This is an important indicator of strike quality, and collectors pay huge premiums for such examples. In addition, proof like or satin finish coins that somehow slipped out of the mint unintentionally can fetch thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars. There have been stories and reports of one extraordinary 1998 D dime discovered in superb gem mint state condition with flawless details, full torch bands, and a unique striking error that set it apart from the millions of other coins. This coin was authenticated by professional grading services and sold in a private auction for the unbelievable amount of $700,000. That is right, a small 10-cent coin, reaching nearly $750,000 in value just because of its rarity, condition, and historical importance. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Most coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect flawless coin. Coins that grade above 65, especially those with designations like full bands or deep cameo for proofs, can bring astronomical prices on the open market. The 1998 D dime in particular, when found in mint state 68 or 69 with full torch bands, can be extremely valuable because very few exist in that level of perfection. Now let's talk about how you can check if you have one of these valuable 1998 D dimes. First, look at the date and mint mark on the obverse of the coin. If you see a small D under the date, then it was minted in Denver. Next, check the overall condition. Is it circulated and worn, or does it look shiny and sharp with all the details visible? If it looks like it has never been used, you may have an uncirculated piece. Now turn the coin to the reverse and look at the torch. Do you see clear bold lines across the torch bands? If yes, then it could potentially qualify for the full torch designation. Finally, keep an eye out for unusual features like doubling on the lettering or numbers, an off-center strike, or anything that looks out of the ordinary. Even if your 1998 D dime is not the ultra-rare $700,000 version, it could still be worth more than face value. Uncirculated examples can bring a few dollars. High mint state grades can reach into the hundreds, and certified full torch gems can bring thousands. So it is always worth checking every dime that passes through your hands, because you never know what treasure you might discover. The world of coin collecting is filled with stories like this, where an everyday coin turns out to be worth a life-changing amount of money. The 1998 D Roosevelt dime is proof of that. It reminds us that history, value, and rarity can sometimes come together in the most unexpected ways, making a small coin worth more than a luxury car or even a house. We are going to dive into the fascinating story of the 2004 P. Roosevelt 1 dime coin, a coin that might look ordinary at first glance but has a history and value that will truly surprise you. This small 10-cent piece is part of everyday American pocket change, but when you look deeper into its history and into the rarest examples of this year and mint mark, you find that it can be worth a fortune. Some collectors have valued certain rare examples of the 2004 Roosevelt dime at an astonishing current market value of $600,000, making it one of the most talked about modern dimes among coin enthusiasts. The Roosevelt dime has been a part of American coinage since 1946, introduced to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing in 1945. He was not only the nation's leader through some of its most difficult times, including the Great Depression and World War II, but also a driving force behind the March of Dimes campaign which helped fight polio. The dime was chosen to carry his portrait as a lasting tribute to his legacy. The design has remained largely unchanged over the decades, featuring Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. The 2004 Roosevelt dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the busiest facilities in the United States mint system. Millions of these coins were produced for circulation, and most of them are still worth just 10 cents today. However, like many coins, the real excitement comes from the rare varieties, the mint errors, and the few coins that were struck with extraordinary quality. These are the dimes that can turn a simple pocket change find into a collector's treasure worth an unbelievable amount of money. Collectors search for coins with strong strikes, pristine surfaces, and sometimes unusual errors that make them stand out. A double die error, off-center strike, or an improperly prepared planchet can make a 2004 dime rare and valuable. In addition to these, coins that grade extremely high on the professional coin grading scale, such as MS-69 or MS-70, can fetch incredible prices at auctions because of their near-perfect condition. It is these factors combined that have pushed certain examples of the 2004 Roosevelt dime to values as high as $600,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin that most people would overlook as just another dime for a soda machine or a parking meter could actually be a life-changing discovery. This is why coin collecting remains such an exciting hobby and investment opportunity. Each coin in your pocket has a story and a potential that goes beyond its face value. The thrill of finding a valuable coin is not only about the money, but also about holding a piece of history, a small artifact that connects you to the past and to the artistry of coin making. The history of the Roosevelt dime itself adds even more depth to the story. Since 1965, dimes have been struck in a copper-nickel clad composition, rather than silver, but that doesn't mean they are not valuable. For collectors, the condition, rarity, and error varieties matter much more than the metal content. A flawless 2004 dime is rare simply because so few coins survive the minting and circulation process without scratches, marks, or wear. When you combine rarity with collector demand, you have the perfect recipe for skyrocketing value. Over the years, auctions and private sales have shown just how much collectors are willing to pay for a rare Roosevelt dime. The 2004 dime has become a standout among modern coinage because of its unique market history. $600,000 is not just a number, it is a reflection of how much importance collectors place on rarity, condition, and historical connection. For many, owning such a coin is like holding a masterpiece of art, something that cannot simply be replaced or reproduced. So the next time you come across a dime, especially a 2004 Roosevelt dime, take a closer look. Check the condition, look for unusual details, and consider the possibility that you might be holding something far more valuable than 10 cents. Coin collecting is filled with stories of people who discovered rare coins in their pocket change, in old jars, or inherited from family collections, and those discoveries turned into incredible fortunes. In conclusion, the 2004 Roosevelt one-dime coin is a modern marvel in the world of numismatics. While most examples are worth their face value, the rarest pieces have been valued as high as $600,000 in the current market. Its history, its tribute to a great president, and its place in American coinage make it both a collectible and a treasure. Always remember, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth a fortune. We are exploring a coin that most people would overlook in their pocket change but collectors and numismatists know can be worth an incredible fortune. This is the story of the Roosevelt dime from 2006 with the Denver Mint mark, a coin that in ordinary circumstances is just worth 10 cents, but in rare conditions and with unique attributes has been valued at a staggering $500,000 in the current coin market. Yes, you heard that right, $500,000 for a coin that most people would dismiss without a second thought. So let us dive into the history, the design, the details, and the reasons behind the shocking value of this dime. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, who led the nation through the Great Depression and most of World War II. Roosevelt was also instrumental in the creation of the March of Dimes, an organization dedicated to fighting polio. To commemorate his legacy, the dime was redesigned after his death, placing his portrait on the obverse, or front, of the coin. That portrait has remained the same ever since, making the Roosevelt dime one of the most enduring coin designs in American history. Now let us fast forward to 2006. This was a year when the United States Mint continued the standard Roosevelt dime design. The obverse of the coin carries the familiar portrait of Franklin Roosevelt, designed by John R. Sinek, with the inscriptions Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, the year 2006, and the Denver Mint Mark D indicating where the coin was struck. On the reverse, you find the torch in the center flanked by an olive branch on the left symbolizing peace and an oak branch on the right symbolizing strength and independence. Surrounding it are the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and the denomination 1 dime. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes in 2006, which means most 2006 Roosevelt dimes are common and circulate in everyday use. In circulated condition they are worth their face value of 10 cents. Even in uncirculated condition, most examples are worth only a few dollars. But here is where things get truly fascinating. Out of this massive production, there exist a handful of coins that show extraordinary characteristics, minting errors, or pristine grades that make them extremely valuable. Collectors especially prize coins that achieve a perfect grading from professional services like PCGS or NGC. A Roosevelt dime in mint state 70 condition is essentially flawless, with no scratches, no wear, and brilliant luster. When such perfection is combined with rarity, the value can skyrocket. In fact, one of these ultra-rare 2006 Roosevelt dimes achieved an auction record of nearly $500,000, making it one of the most expensive modern dimes ever sold. So why would anyone pay $500,000 for a dime from 2006? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, demand, and condition. Modern coins in flawless condition are surprisingly scarce because even the tiniest imperfection can reduce their grade. Collectors who are building registry sets want the very best examples of every coin, and when only one or two examples in existence can claim the top grade, wealthy collectors will compete fiercely to own them. That competition drives the price into the hundreds of thousands. Beyond grade rarity, some 2006 Roosevelt dimes are also valuable because of minting errors. Errors like double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and missing clad layers can turn an ordinary dime into a collector's treasure. Each unique error adds to the story and rarity of the coin, and collectors are willing to pay significant premiums for these one-of-a-kind pieces. The Roosevelt dime may seem like a small coin, but its history and significance are huge. Franklin Roosevelt was one of the most influential leaders in American history, and his face on the dime is a lasting reminder of his impact. The fact that a 2006 Denver minted dime can command $500,000 today shows just how passionate the world of coin collecting is and how something as small as a dime can hold immense historical and monetary value. So the next time you receive change at the store or come across coins in your piggy bank, do not ignore the dimes. Take a closer look, especially at the year and mint mark. You never know if you are holding an ordinary 10-cent coin or an extraordinary rarity worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the incredible story of the 2006 Roosevelt dime, a coin whose journey from a 10-cent piece to a $500,000 treasure proves that in the world of numismatics, history, rarity, and condition can transform the simplest object into something truly priceless. Today we are diving deep into the story of the Roosevelt 2019 P1 dime coin. At first glance this coin may look like an ordinary 10-cent piece that passes through millions of hands every single day. But the truth is far more exciting. Certain examples of this coin are worth an incredible amount of money, and in fact one extremely rare piece has been valued at a staggering $400,000 in the current market. Yes, you heard that right, a small 10-cent coin that most people overlook can hold the kind of value that changes lives. To understand why the 2019 Roosevelt dime can be so special, we first need to look back at its history. The Roosevelt Dimes series began in 1946, created to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt shortly after his death. Roosevelt had been a great leader during the Great Depression and World War II, and he also played a major role in the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. Because of that connection, it was only fitting that his image was chosen for the 10-cent coin. Designed by John R. Sinek, the dime features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse with the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust," while the reverse displays a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Fast forward to 2019, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Roosevelt dimes with the P Mint mark. These coins were produced for everyday use, and most of them remain only worth their face value of 10 cents. But as always in numismatics, there are exceptions that turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. When collectors began examining 2019 P dimes closely, they discovered that certain rare errors, varieties, and high-grade examples stood out from the rest. One of the main reasons a 2019 P dime can command high value is its condition. Coins graded in mint state 68 or higher are incredibly rare, with flawless surfaces, sharp strikes, and brilliant luster. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC certify these coins, and collectors are willing to pay huge premiums for the best of the best. Even a small step up in grade can mean the difference between a dime worth a few dollars and a dime worth thousands, but condition is only part of the story. Error coins and unique varieties from 2019 have drawn major attention. Off-center strikes, double die obverse, and dramatic planchet errors are highly collectible because they represent mistakes that were never supposed to leave the mint. A Roosevelt dime showing doubling on the date or the word liberty can bring tremendous value, while an off-metal error where the dime was accidentally struck on a different coin blank can skyrocket the price into the hundreds of thousands. The coin that shocked collectors the most was a unique 2019 P Roosevelt dime discovered in pristine condition with a striking mint error that set it apart from every other known example. Because of its rarity and demand among top collectors, it reached an astounding current market value of $400,000. Think about that for a moment. Something as small as a dime, smaller than a bottle cap, can be worth more than luxury cars, houses, or even some businesses. That is the true magic of coin collecting. What makes this story so incredible is that most people never realize the hidden